welcome to our yoga practice today. We will work with a particular yoga sutra today, and that leads us towards developing compassion. Never hurts to do so, and especially if, everything around us is a bit in turmoil, an eclipse, a full moon, there's lots of energy going on, and perhaps you too are struggling to sleep through the night. So hoping that this practice will bring some balance and calm. We do need a block to find if you have them. And please prepare the regular, such as cushions, blankets, things for relaxation that make you extra comfortable. Now we're starting lying down on the backs. Get yourself ready to do so. Finding maybe a bolster under the knees. Doesn't have to be. If you're comfortable with knees bent or legs long, that might be your position for now. Allowing the arms to fall, unless you really need that gentle touch on your body to anchor you. And that's fine too. So maybe beginning by closing your eyes, perhaps acknowledging that that is not the case for you today, and you'd rather stare in a solid spot, letting your eyes come to rest instead of close. As you land on the mat, taking a few deeper breaths. As you breathe more deeply, beginning soft sighing out of the mouth. So a deeper breath, soft sigh for you. And then another deeper breath and more sighing. Allowing yourself with the deeper breathing, the exhale through the mouth, potentially even with a bit of a sound, allowing those to assist you finding your place on the floor where it's comfortable. Where you kind of, although we haven't moved yet, find a resting place. I'd encourage you from there to simply keep a deeper breath flowing, perhaps letting it now change to breathing just through the nostrils as you breathe in and out through your nose. Maybe even cultivating that full yogi breath where you breathe from your belly to the ribs and up to your collarbones, and then out again from the belly to the ribs to the collarbones. Finding your pace of breathing comfortable, yes, but not too comfortable. Just going to that point where you feel, yes, my breath is full, perhaps a little bit fulfilling. And then exhaling slowly again. So today we're looking into Yoga Sutra 1.33. And translated here it says, the projection of friendliness, compassion, gladness, and equanimity towards objects, be they joyful, sorrowful, meritorious, or demeritorious, bring about the pacification of consciousness. And just as another idea, I will share what Desikachar writes in his book about this particular Yoga Sutra. In daily life, we see people around who are happier than we are, people who are less happy. Some may be doing praiseworthy things and others causing problems. Whatever may be our usual attitude towards such people and their actions, if we can be pleased with others who are happier than ourselves, compassionate toward those who are unhappy, joyful with those doing praiseworthy things, and remain undisturbed by the errors of others, our mind will be very tranquil. So there is that element of compassion in both of these translations. There are other ideas of how to find this state, which we're all longing for, happy, balanced. So perhaps taking these ideas of not longing for happiness of others and just being where we are and content with that into our practice today. And perhaps acknowledging how these traits of our mind play out on the mat. While you might for now let go of your deeper breathing, or perhaps you choose to carry it throughout the practice today. You can stay lying down on your backs, but if you have chosen to have cushioning underneath the body, you might like to remove that now. Then perhaps bending the knees and having your arms along the side of the body. The palms of the hands are touching down flat to the surface of the mat or the ground. And we're reaching forward through our middle fingers. And there's a little stretch, a tiny tension in the arms and shoulders. If it's available to you now, lifting the feet off the floor and allowing the knees to hover over the chest. Now, breathing into the lower ribs at your back so they stay connected to the floor. Getting that feeling on your in-breath that the lower ribs are touching to the ground, but you stretch still forward into the middle fingers on your next inhale as you attach the ribs to the floor, moving your toes towards the ground, barely touching, and as you breathe out, bringing the knees back towards the chest. So with your inhale, simple version, toes tapping to the floor, with the out breath bringing the knees closer to the chest. But while you breathe in, the breath moves the lower ribs into the ground, and your middle fingers keep reaching forward. So just doing that for a few more breaths. One more round. Allowing the feet to rest down for a brief moment, but continue breathing down into the lower ribs behind your back. So keep extending your breath into the mat. Then bringing your knees loosely back over the chest, same as they were before. And beginning now, as you are breathing in, to extend your legs up towards the ceiling. And as you're breathing out, loosely tapping your knees back toward the chest. So we will breathe in to extend the lower ribs towards the ceiling, the lower rib cage towards the floor, and we're breathing out to bend the knees softly back to the chest. So keep doing so for a few more breaths, arms by the sides. As we inhale, extending the legs up. On the exhale, drawing the knees towards the chest. Now, if you feel you would like to do a bit more, still breathe into the lower back, but extending the legs a bit away from you, and then bringing the knees back to the chest. These legs could be extended just above the ground if that was comfortable for your back. But keep breathing to the lower ribs so your back's remaining grounded. We're going into the deeper muscles with these movements, and also keep reaching your middle fingers forward. One last round. Then perhaps stepping your feet back down. And as I'm shuffling a little bit, extending your arms out towards the sides of the body, touching the palms of your hands now towards the ground. Perhaps making sure that the arms are a little bit below shoulder height rather than above. With your palms down, we will lift the feet again off the floor. So while you are breathing in, we will extend the legs back up, squeeze the shoulder blades together, sliding the arms inwards, lifting the nose, gazing to the navel. And as you breathe out, bringing the knees back over the chest. So we're drawing the arms in, so the shoulder blades are squeezing, legs extending. You might lift the head to look towards the navel. On the out breath, broaden the shoulder blades and bend the knees. So breath in, squeezing shoulder blades together, extending, looking toward the navel, and then relaxing back as you breathe out. Let's do 3 more breaths with that same movement. Shoulder blades squeezing, upper body lifting. We're looking to the navel and then bending the knees back in. I think the trickier part is to remember the squeeze of the shoulder blades while you're doing so much else. And then releasing back towards the ground. And you might even choose to just give your knees a hug and a squeeze, and perhaps rocking a little bit from side to side there. Maybe even rocking for a moment forwards and back. We're not quite lying down yet though. And as you come back to the back, stepping the left foot down, giving the right knee a good squeeze in. Then extending the right leg toward the ceiling, taking a hold behind it, flexing the foot. If you like, you can extend the left leg out so it's out of the way if it feels right for you. And just drawing the straight leg a little bit in towards you. Now, it's not important whether you can reach, but perhaps in the out breath, lifting your nose towards the knee, and if available, taking a pistol grip of the big toe. I will refrain from that on this side and choose an alternative, but just holding on to the lower leg instead. That's comfortably within reach as the head comes back to the ground. Now, for the in-breath, leave your left hand on the hip and let the right leg open out to the side. Why the left hand on the hip? So we can keep our pelvis grounded and balanced. You can open your leg as wide as you like, perhaps landing the elbow to the ground there to support the leg. And then guiding the leg back up to center. Now, there is a chance here for you to bend the knee as you take the opposite hand to the leg or even your big toe and let your leg cross the body. The other arm here can fall out to the side. I will choose to bend my knee. This is my challenging side. Your choice to do so too, or leave the leg out long for the twist. As we roll again onto the back, extending the leg once more to the ceiling, perhaps sliding your hands flat underneath the lower part of your buttocks. You can bend this knee at any time, but flex the foot as you breathe out. Zip up this tight pair of jeans, lowering the straight leg down, or as mentioned before, bending the knee if required. Lifting the left leg up and giving the knee a good squeeze in. Left leg might extend towards the ceiling as we take a hold behind, flex the foot, and maybe extending the right leg out to the floor. Let's give the straight leg a good squeeze in on an out breath. And the same, everything here is quite optional. Your choice to lift your nose to the knee, perhaps taking a hold of your big toe, maybe choosing the leg instead. Carefully releasing the upper body back to the mat, placing right hand onto the hip and waiting for a good in-breath to open the leg to the side. Trying to keep your hips grounded, and as demonstrated here, an elbow to the floor might just be the right support for the leg and to control the hip opening. Guiding the left leg back up, either take a hold of your toe or the leg itself. The left arm can drop out to the side, and you might choose to cross your left leg over the body. You might also choose to bend your knee or keep the leg out long. As we roll back to the center, perhaps extending the left leg again. Same option here, hands flat under the lower part of your buttocks, flexion of the foot, and the outbreath, thinking of the tight pair of jeans that would close the zipper off, lengthening the leg down or bending the knee if required, landing the foot down, and then perhaps having a full body stretch. As you might reach your arms overhead, stretching down towards the toes. And some of you might feel like a big swing sitting up. Others might feel more like me, bending the knees, arms by the sides, and just rolling over onto a side of the body to come into a seated position first. But we're not staying there. We're making our way all the way into a standing position. So if you found your arms were quite short reaching for your foot, you would have found variations that worked for you. Store them in the back of your mind. We'll go back to those. So we'll land at the very front end of the mat and practice just one round of sun salutations. So with the inhalation, raise your arms up, maybe lifting your gaze. Then touch the palms, soften the knees, and a breath out to fold forward and down. For the in-breath, lengthen the spine into a half lift. On your out breath, stepping your feet or your knees back onto the mat. Coming into a plank position. As often, we'll take a little pause here, being strong in both arms, yet the elbows unlocked, so the elbow creases are facing. The tailbone reaches in the direction of the heels. There's space between the shoulder blades. And with the next out breath, keeping your elbows closed, just lowering down onto the front of the body, perhaps resting the forehead down. With your hands still underneath the shoulders or close to there, encourage tops of the feet into the mat. Unless you have lower back issues, then maybe raising the legs. On the in-breath, lifting the head, the chest, perhaps the hands. Just feeling into the strength across your back. And on the out-breath, releasing that again towards the floor. Next round of Cobra, take a breath in. Use your hands lightly. Still staying reasonably close towards the ground. Keep the shoulders back, the shoulder blades riding down the spine. With your out breath, relax. And perhaps there was less strength in the back. Let's check that out again. Hands off the mat. Breathing in, lifting the head and the chest. The hands just lightly off the floor. Tops of the feet grounded. Or legs lifted for lower back discomfort. Out breath to release that down. Once more, the supported cobra as you lift the head and the chest. The hands are now pushing the floor away. You're drawing the shoulder blades down the spine as your heart is lifting forward. The gaze is lightly towards the front, Bhujangasana. And your out breath to release. Either repeating one of those two or on the next breath in, pushing a little bit higher. See if this works for you. Feel free to retreat to one of the previous versions. Take another breath as you lift your heart forward, shoulder blades down, and then the exhale to release that towards the mat. Use your hands into the ground on the in-breath to come up onto hands and knees, and then stretching your hips back or wiggling them back towards a child's pose. You can move even within this child's pose as you wiggle. And we'll slowly extend the arms back forward, rising onto hands and knees. Some of you might prefer a downward facing dog for the out breath. And then starting to walk and swing out this downward facing dog. Before walking your feet slowly to the front side of the mat. We will land back in the standing forward fold. And a half lift for your in-breath. And the out-breath is to fold again. Bending your knees and starting to push off the floor. Perhaps the arms are lifting too as you breathe in. And on the out-breath, releasing the arms down for a mountain posture. We'll come to a few standing poses. While I keep facing this side, you can stay facing the short side of the mat. Hands might end up on the hips. We will step the right foot back into a deep lunge. As you might have observed, I took a step back and then I stepped back a little bit further. So perhaps you find quite wide stance too. Take a little bend into the back knee so you can center your torso right here. On a breath in, if your shoulders allow, lifting the arms. You can keep them there, or if more comfortable, touching hands together, Anjali Mudra in front of the chest. So we're in a high lunge here. If you can, now encourage the left side of the pelvis slightly backwards to realign with the right. You potentially feel that in strength as well as within the joints. Then starting to push off the back foot, maintain that little drawing back of the left side, lean only into the diagonal, adjusting the neck accordingly and letting your arms lengthen by your sides. The palms of the hands are facing down or forward. Spread the fingers out, squeeze the shoulder blades a little, keep your gaze down and steady. A flying warrior shape here. And if you dare, you can choose to close the eyes. On the next breath in, bending the back knee again, lifting your arms back for your high lunge. Then lower the back heel down and a breath out to open the arms out for a warrior two. Now, my stance is not ideal when I turn like this. I've just adjusted my back foot and aligned it with the heel of the front foot. The front foot's toes are facing forward. The back foot is in a very slight angle, so the heel is a tad bit further out than the toes. So there comes that inward rotation here. Your arms might be long. You could look over your front hand fingertips. We will take now the arm from behind to the front, flexing through the left wrist as if we wanted to stop something, but we're actually putting a goal there. This could be development of awareness and compassion. And you might fold in the last three fingers of the right hand. And while you breathe in, start pulling back your right elbow. Bend the right knee, straighten the left leg, have your golden side. And a breath out as you push forward to have hands next to each other. Let's do that again. Last three fingers folding in as we pull on our bow, breathing in and out as we move forward. Let's do that for a few more breaths. Hold. Lifting back heel and arms while you breathe in. Hands can land on the front thigh as you step back to the front, releasing the arms for a mountain pose. As you place your hands back upon the hips, Let's step the left foot down the mat. Take a nice and wide stance for a lunge. And begin to bend the back knee so the torso centers, the pelvis drops into place. And then begin to encourage the right side of the pelvis just to realign. It's not big, it's a minor pull in to change the way you're standing. As you might choose to raise your arms up. Hands down to the heart is your alternative. But keep standing tall, keep your back knee in a light bend. Then starting to push off the back foot and leaning forward. Keep drawing the right side lightly back, but lengthen your arms alongside the body. Same here, palms are facing forward or down. The neck is aligning with the rest of the spine, so your gaze is forward, but yet down to the floor. You've got your lower core muscles active, if not all of them, and the fingers are spreading out. Light squeeze between the shoulder blades, and if you're playful, you might like to experiment with balance and close the eyes. Bending the back knee again and taking a breath in to raise the arms, returning to high lunge. Lower the heel down and the breath out to extend the arms into warrior two. Now both arms reaching forward and back at about shoulder height. Your back foot again is lightly turned out through the heel. And at the front, we're aligning the knee with the toes. Your gazing point might be over the front hand fingertips. There could be a light pull of the feet wanting to move towards each other. Taking the arm from behind and bringing it out in front, flexing through the wrists of the hands and folding the last three fingers in of the left hand. Put your goal back there in front. And as you breathe in, pull on your elbow, bend your back knee, straighten the front. And on the out breath, pushing forward towards your goal. Breathing in as we aim and pull on the bow. And out to lean forward. Let's complete 3 more of those movements. You completed those. Hold the hands forward, raise the heel up, a big breath in, putting your hands to the front thigh and stepping back to the front. Give the shoulders another shrug and land back in your mountain pose. I will keep facing the front side so it's a little bit easier, but we'll bring the hands back upon the hips. This time the step back is a tad bit smaller. So while you step the right foot back, land it where the toes land and then ground the whole foot. So stands about hip distance now for warrior one. Front knee comes into a bend and the pelvis feels the same as once we balanced it in the lunges. Option the same as the lunge, reaching the arms up or keeping hands at heart center or a bit lower if you wish. If your arms are extended toward the ceiling, you might allow the shoulders to be easy. I'm not saying pull them down or up, just easy. Letting your breath be deep and full. With your next inhale, let's straighten the front leg, perhaps stretching up a bit more. On the out breath, then take your arms all the way behind your back. You can choose a reverse prayer position there or to hold onto the opposite elbows. Not available, hands in the waist and squeezing the shoulder blades. So take a breath in, push into the front foot and lift your gaze and heart. Light bend into the front knee as you descend, as you lean forward into the pyramid shape. Start pushing off the front foot as you straighten the knee again, leaning towards the knee with the nose. Feel behind you so that you can aim for balance in the pelvic area. And perhaps that front foot is your guide as you push the floor away with your ball of the foot. Let's take a breath in to bend the front knee, lifting the torso up, and at the same time stepping the foot to the front and releasing your arms back towards a mountain shape. Allow for a while to just stand very heavily on one foot and acknowledging the work that your body has done. And perhaps this is a good moment for self-compassion. Just acknowledging. Let your breath be in a soft and deep rhythm before placing hands back upon the pelvis. Stepping your left foot back. Again, touch the toes down, then land your whole foot in a deep angle, about hip distance apart from the other, adjusting if required, and a light bend into the front knee. So we're feeling the pelvis here also with ease facing forward. Perhaps lifting the arms up on the inhale for Warrior One or Virabhadrasana One, or perhaps joining them back down at the heart space. Finding your steady gazing point or drishti. It is recommended here to look up towards the third eye point. Some of you might look to a steady spot toward the ceiling. Others might have a steady gazing point directly ahead of them. With the next inhale, straighten the front leg, perhaps extending the arms. And with the out breath, circle your arms behind the back. You can choose the reverse prayer again, or again the hold of the elbows. If you did the last, please swap the arm on top. Let's squeeze our shoulder blades lightly and lift the heart and gaze. Micro bend or little bend into the front knee and starting to fold forward. Keeping the squeeze between the shoulder blades as you lean closer towards the front knee, starting to straighten the knee again, not locking, just straightening, and beginning to aim for balance in the pelvic area. Feel that you've got arms behind you. Feel into the back. Can you balance? Can you be even here and still bending down? Perhaps pushing more away with the front foot. On the inhale, bring a bend back to the front leg, lifting the torso, the back heel, step to the front and releasing the arms down, finding that quiet again. And perhaps you still feel like you're leaning more now to the other side. Just be with that for a moment. There might be a different sensation in the first foot. And perhaps over a few breaths and with awareness in the feet, you can notice how that brings itself back into balance. And ideally, that's what our bodies are doing, bringing harmony and balance to themselves. Let's open the eyes and find a steady gazing point straight ahead. Shifting the weight towards the left foot, bringing the right knee up. I suggest even a hug of the knee towards the chest. You can choose to reach for your big toe or your ankle, or you could choose to take a hold underneath the thigh of the foot. Perhaps we're extending the leg today. Perhaps you can leave the knee bent if that's better for you. You can always choose to bend the knee if required or you prefer. Maybe the hand changes to the inside. You bring the left hand to the side of the waist and open your leg to the side. Perhaps knee could be bent here. Then guiding the leg or the bent knee back to center, and you would guess it, we're changing the grip. Leg can still be extended or bent, and bringing the knee across the body, Maybe even extending your right arm to the opposite side. If you're dancing with me, just pop in and out as you please, or the body allows you to. Perhaps looking over. Let's bring the knee back to the center. Drop the foot. Relax the arms. And this time, let's move a little. Perhaps you're feeling a little bit stuck from the long standing on the one leg. But then finding your standing place again. Let's change sides. Lifting the left knee up. Maybe taking a hold of the knee towards the chest. The choice here is to catch the big toe or to hold onto your ankle. But maybe we go with the same version here, modification, to take a hold underneath the thigh instead. And there's your option of extending the leg if that works for you. Try and aim for a tall stand still. And for the movement of the leg, you can choose to leave it straight or bend the knee. As you might open the leg, the right hand goes to the side of the waist. And if you're holding under, you could even extend the leg if it's strong enough. Mine clearly isn't. Let's bring the knee or the leg back into center and just change the hold on the leg. While you might bring the other hand to the waist to cross or even extend the arm over. Have a happy balancing dance. Perhaps you're holding it still as you lift the knee back in front. Release the foot down and have another little walk over the mat, just loosening up the body. Let's come to stand again at the short front edge of the mat and a deep inhalation to lift the arms and maybe even the gaze. Draw the hands down the midline as you breathe out, folding all the way down. For the inhale, there's a half lift. On the exhale, let's step the knees down onto the floor. I will take my pile of 2 blocks and put that between my legs. I will also turn around, which you don't need to do, and come to sit upon the heels. As I'm demonstrating here, you can use blocks or other items of support to sit on. If the bent knees isn't yours, the legs can be out long in front as well. Let's give the shoulders here a little shrug. And taking a breath in to raise your arms up. Take an interlace of your hands. And while you breathe out, pull your right hand downwards by bending both elbows and leaning towards a side bend. Lifting up from the left hand as you inhale, and then pulling down on the other side, breathing out. Let's do that once more to each side, breathing in and exhaling for a side bend. Inhale to pull up and exhale to pull down. Take an inhale to lift again. As you breathe out, circle your arms behind the back and interlace the hands behind the back. Lengthening the arms down, a squeeze for the shoulder blades, a lift of the heart, maybe even your gaze. You can stay here if this is for you, and take a deep breath in and even continue staying here. Or on your out breath, begin to lean the belly over the thighs, tucking the chin in, bringing the head down and rolling to the top of the head. Maybe your rabbit ears are lifting behind you for the Easter theme. The ears come into the air. Perhaps staying here a couple more breaths. Then releasing. Arms down. Hips back towards the heels. With the hands by the sides, very slowly uncurling, using an exhalation so blood pressure comes along. And as you inhale, your arms might lift again. Interlacing the fingers, perhaps the other fingers in front. Let's start pulling down with the left as we breathe out. Inhaling to lift and pull up. Exhale as we draw down on the right hand, just once more to each side. Use your hands and go deeper into the side bend as you pull downwards. With the breath in, lifting the arms again, and then circling them back behind the back. As you find your interlace, swap the fingers here too. Let the arms lengthen down or away from the back. Squeeze the shoulder blades as you lift the heart. Gaze can be forward or lifted upward. Let's take a deep breath into this back bend. And the same option here, if head low isn't for you, perhaps staying here. If it's right for you, on the out breath, lean your belly towards the thighs. Arms can be relaxed in this approach. Tuck the chin in, then lift the hips, come to the top of your head, and perhaps the arms are lifting away from the back. Pausing again here for a few breaths. On your next out breath, sitting towards the heels, releasing your hands as a support and uncurling. As you come back to a seat, give the shoulders another little shrug. And while your next inhale, just turning your head to one side. Breathing out to center. Inhaling to the other. And out to center. Now we will change this to another back bend. If you feel you'd rather stay seated, bring your hands behind, just as valid. Or come to stand upon your knees. I've just kept the blocks there lazily and I squeeze them between my feet as an anchoring point. If you've got one there, you could do the same. Other than that, taking your hands into the lower back, your fingers will be pointing downwards. We're preparing for Ustrasana or the camel. A light squeeze to your bottom, a deep squeeze to the shoulder blades as the chest comes forward, and perhaps lifting from the sternum as you breathe in. The head can stay forward or you can carefully guide it backwards. Keep lifting from the chest center. Keep drawing long in the lower spine. And perhaps some of you want to reach the fingers to the heels. If you don't, stay here, squeeze elbows, shoulder blades closer. We'll take 2 more breaths. On the following out breath, bending your hips as you sit back towards the heels, the head is following. And as you lean forward, you might stack fists or you might bring a block out in front to rest the forehead down. I would love you to keep the head off the ground. So we've got a moment here to level our blood pressure. Uncurling through the spine, and we'll sit over to one side, taking the support out. If you like, you can sit now on a folded blanket or a rolled up end of the mat, extending the legs out in front. We'll begin with a bend to the right knee and letting the knee roll out towards the side for Janushirshasana, head to knee pose. Now this foot can be anywhere against the leg, preferably upper inner thigh. Get your hands down into the ground, lift the buttocks and draw it a little bit back. As you breathe in and lengthen your spine, there could be a bend in the extended leg, and please have a flexion in the foot. And as you breathe out, begin to lean towards this leg. Folding with the head towards the knee will cause a deep rounding in the back. This is okay. You can take a hold of the leg and actually encourage this rounding, not only by drawing the forehead towards the knee, but maybe also creating a cat back. This is counter to what we usually do, where we find the length in the spine to lean forward. Today, I would really love you to stretch into the back line. Hence, we can create a roundedness like the cat itself. And the next inhale, continue the roundedness, but draw the spine to a length halfway out of the shape and lift yourself back up into a seated position. Bringing the right knee up and either drawing the foot closer in or even stepping it over to the other side. We will take a hold of the knee and draw ourselves tall. The right hand fingertips can then land behind, and you might use your next exhalation to draw into the twist. Your hand can remain on the knee. It could become your elbow. You could even place the elbow to the outside of the leg, yet keeping the foot in flexion on the extended leg. And rather than leaning in, which I observe a lot to the backhand, keep the backhand there as a second spine. Lift yourself from it. With the next inhale, turning the head forward. With the exhale, let the leg come out long. We'll change sides. So left knee is now bending. You can draw the foot in toward you and then open the knee out to the side. Yet, if uncomfortable, this foot can be anywhere on the leg. Place your hands down, raise the other side of your bottom, and then draw the straight leg in, bending through the knee, but a strong flexion of the foot. Let's breathe in. As you breathe out, leaning with the forehead towards the knee. We're taking the posture quite literate today. Find a hold on the right leg somewhere. This can be your foot, it can be around the lower leg, doesn't matter. And then begin to draw into the back like an angry cat, deeply rounding through the spine. Holding and pressing up into the back, exposing the whole fascia of your spine, surrounding the spine of your back, tucking the forehead down. And as you next inhale, keep that wave going and use it to lengthen as you let loose with the hands and rising back into a seated position. The leg might extend fully and you can guide your left knee up if that works for you. The foot can be quite close to your bottom, or you might choose to step the foot across to the other side. We will take a hold of our knee and lengthen the spine. It's now the left hand fingertips behind. And for the out breath, you can use the right hand to turn. Perhaps it's the elbow that holds the posture in place. Perhaps it's the elbow going to the outside of the leg that does. Coming to your choice. Active flexion in the foot on your extended leg. The second spine or the spinal support as you press the fingertips to the floor just to maintain the length. Have some steadiness in your gaze or your eyes shut. And with your next inhalation, turning the head forward and then releasing the legs out. Now let's come off any seated support and draw the feet to the front short edge of the mat. Simply rolling down for Shavasana. If you enjoy using your center, zip up your chins and start to roll the spine down towards the floor. You can always bend your knees if required and letting your arms drop. I'd ask you to allow a few movements here as you land. And I do suggest a strong full body stretch just to open your body up after the forward fold. Then releasing your arms lazily by your sides. If you enjoy a bolster underneath your knees, please place it there. Perhaps you prefer to have legs long or knees bent. All of these are options. As you might choose to land in your shape of relaxation. We won't finish with relaxation today. We'll finish with a short pranayama or breathing practice. But for now, I'd ask you to become still in your body, gazing steadily or eyes closed, and perhaps allowing a moment of reflection, starting with the observation of the physical body. Does it feel like it has dropped with more ease towards the floor? What does the body feel like? Have you created some warmth? Were there parts in the practice that were challenging for you? Did you find compassion for yourself? If you like, you can now turn your awareness just to the breath and work on the cultivation of compassion with awareness. As your mind will start wandering, and you can draw it back to this practice. If you like to visualize a scene from the past, an experience that you had and wished you had acted differently, or just responded differently to it. Perhaps your actions weren't that freely chosen. As you remember this experience, you might like to pay attention to your bodily sensations. What do you notice? Perhaps a tightness in the throat, heaviness in the belly, a restriction in your breathing. Whatever you feel, be present with kindness. You might now imagine that your experience is on a video, a recording. Rewind and rerun it from the beginning. This time, see yourself through the perspective of time and compassion. Acknowledge that the choices you made were the best that you could do at that time. Allow your actions to be understood from your new perspective. And you might complete this visualization by silently repeating to yourself, I am compassionate. I am compassionate. I am compassionate. As you plant this seed in your heart, only lightly deepen your breathing. And with as little disturbance as is possible for you right now, joining me in a seated pose. Only important for your seated shape is a long spine. As you come to sit, and in the light of the full moon and eclipses and all that's going on around the moon, I'd love to finish with Chandra Pradhan. So that is the moon breath. It is very similar to Nadi Shodhana, the alternate nostril breathing, but here we use the same hand position. Index and middle finger might rest to third eye or folded in, whereas the thumb and the ring finger are used to gently close the nostrils. The main difference in this technique is that we inhale through the left and out the right, never the other way around. So if you like to join me, take a deep breath in. Let the breath escape. Put your hands in place, closing the right nostril and inhaling deeply and slowly through the left. Open your right, close the left and exhale through your right nostril. Close the right, open the left, inhaling deeply, left nostril. Open right, close left and breathe out the right nostril. Again, inhaling left. Exhaling right. Now please continue for a little while, always inhaling left and exhaling right. If your arm needs support, use the other hand underneath your elbow. Perhaps as you continue, you can have a feeling for lengthening just the exhalations, making them longer than the in-breaths, but continuing with the same pattern, in through left and out through right. After your next exhalation, let go of the technique, rest your hands down and pause for a while. Eyes might be closed or steady. Noticing how this feels within you. I do hope it feels a little bit calmer, cooler. And we might, to complete, join the hands in Anjali Mudra in front of the chest, maybe the thumbs to the sternum. Lifting the heart space towards your hands, reminding yourselves of being compassionate. And extending from that place with a light bow toward each other. Namaste.